currently I try to address senescence, which are senescent cells, and accumulation of senescent cells. And what I'm trying to do is to get rid of them. So one way of doing it is to look at what's on the surface of senescent cells. And then I can either use devices, or I can use cells, I can use molecules to attack them. So people might have heard about senolytics. So basically drugs that specifically kill these senescent cells. The downside of these drugs is often that they are not very specific, because they target every cell, and some cells are damaged by these drugs. So one way of modifying that slightly is by having something on the surface of a cell that's specific to senescent cells, and the drug targets only that one, so that the drug can't even get into healthy cells, which makes the drug a little bit safer and hopefully more efficient, because then we can go higher with the drug dosing and then kill off more senescent cells. So that's the very simplified method. And
so it's looking for a common denominator for senescence.
Well, if they are a common denominator, it would be nice. I think that's to be discovered. So this research area of senescent cell marker is a very prolific one, and we don't have good markers. And so
there's a lot of heterogeneity in senescent cells in different tissues, right?
It looks like they are very different from each other. How much they're different is still up there, and how many different subtypes are there, and then how much different are they? Because heterogeneity is to what granularity level are we looking? Do they have 10% of their genes differently expressed? What does it do to my surface marker? We don't know yet. It's too early. So unfortunately, it's an area that we still have to do more discovery research to know how homogenic or heterogenic the cells are.
Was your paper that was published, I think, last year related to this?
It was related to it. So there we used a surface marker that was already known, and more or less we used it to have a more refined senescence culture so that we can better test senolytics. And we also wanted to explore a little bit how much senescence is spreading. So a little bit like a virus, senescent cells is spitting out substances that make surrounding cells become senescent as well. So we wanted to better understand how much that is going on, what factors are involved, and are the secondary senescent cells the same as the primary? Because that was alluding to this heterogeneity. So the first senescent cell type might be because I don't know, UV light has aged it and it has become senescent. But then that senescent cell is producing now substances that make another cell senescent. But it's another damage type. So is this secondary senescent cell now different or not? So that's kind of yes, it is slightly different. How important that difference is debatable yet. We were mostly interested, can we still use the same drugs to kill the cell? Mostly they seem to be dying in the same way. There's a slight difference, but it's not significant enough, I think, to be of great importance.
Just as with the telomeres and telomerase, it's a double-edged sword with senescent cells, because they seem to do a lot of important stuff as well. Is this more when we are younger, when there is no pathology, that they actually do serve important roles for us, or is it also when we have accumulated senescent cells, but some of them are still doing what we want them to do, so to speak?
There's both. So we have some of these cells playing important roles when you're young. Wound healing, pregnancy is usually just when you're young. Wound healing could happen over a lifetime.
Right.
But what I think is different is that senescence plays a role in blocking your cancer cells becoming too cancerogenic. So the body tries to shut down your cancer cells. So, and most cancer rates increase with aging. So definitely they become even more important to be functionally kind of active to block your cancer spreading.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say they're more or less important if you're young or old. They're always important. And yes, we have to always pay attention how much we are killing or where we are killing them. So yes, it's not super easy to just go and get rid of them. I mean, like looking at the mouse data, it looks easy. Is that transferable to humans? First indications from clinical trials look positive. So maybe it is that easy. But I think, as usual, we will say, yes, we need more data. We need more clinical trials to better understand it.
And yeah, about senescence. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about senolytics, like for 10 years now, or something like that. Yeah, maybe 8 years.
8 years
or something. Yeah, but you're still looking for the good markers to actually target these cells in the best way possible. So where are we? I mean, people are always wondering, okay, so when can we get the first senolytic drug on the market?
Yeah. And for everything you need biomarkers. And so part of the surface marker discovery is not only to make senolytics better, but it is also to have a good biomarker to actually detect senescent cells in vivo. And that's still a big problem, because in the moment, what we have to do is cut mice or human tissue in little pieces and do a staining that's not very good in telling us if there is a senescent cells or if there's no senescent cells. So unless we're developing biomarkers that I can measure in a living organism, it's super tough to develop senolytics if I can't quantify if my target was actually now going down or not. So the current markers that we have are simply not very good, not very useful. So that's part of why I wanted to have a senescent surface markers. Most current markers are measuring something inside of a cell. And that's always harder to develop into a biomarker than something that's on the surface, because then I can have like a PET scan. I can kind of create like a peptide that comes with the fluorescence signal, or I can put like an isotope on it, and then I can use it to actually detect it in living people. And that would help a lot, like streamlining clinical trials and making them more precise and quicker. Because in the moment, what people are relying on are secondary, basically kind of like one level removed markers. They look at like pain in your knee, or the speed of walking, or maybe on a memory test. All of these tests are very unprecise. They're not very accurate. So I think it would be great to have this as a biomarker.